Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome back to A Realm Reborn Restart. In this series, we're replaying A Realm Reborn in Final Fantasy XIV to see how long it would take a new player, theoretically, if they were to start today. This is because they're doing a bunch of stuff for it in 5.3. A Realm Reborn zones are going to have flying after you finish level 50 story quest. They're going to increase experience points rewards, gear rewards, trim out a lot of the fat, and overall try to make the experience better. And we want to have a gauge for just how much better, so I've been giving you guys summaries on my progress thus far. Now, if you want to get caught up on what it has been like so far, there's a playlist, the little eye in the top right is going to pop up, as well as a playlist link in the description and a brief summary of the restrictions we've put in place so that this challenge is more representative of a new player experience, as much as is going to be possible for me. So I was originally going to have a separate video for days 7 and 8 because day 7 was actually quite eventful. However, I had difficulties downloading the footage from my live stream, so they're getting combined into this one. This is going to be a summary of days 7 and 8, so going into the second week of this challenge and getting through the rest of A Realm Reborn. That's really what the goal is for the remaining days, because we're going to end up at a final number relatively soon, and it is going to be way below my estimates. I think I've really overestimated some of the changes that have happened already in previous patches, and 5.3 is only going to make it way faster. So in days 7 and 8, we spent a total of about 14.5 hours playing. It was about 7 hours 20 on one day and about 7 hours 10. The total time was like 51 hours, 57 minutes. Let's call a spade and just say 52 hours for sake of it looking nice on the screen. Now, before into what we got done, we need to reestablish what it is we're actually trying to get done here. We are not trying to complete Coil. We are not trying to unlock every dungeon. We're not trying to unlock every feature. We are looking at the bare minimum time, the stuff that is most likely going to be affected in patch 5.3, so we can make a direct comparison come 5.3's changes. So what's mandatory as a reminder? From this point on, the patch 2.1 through 2.55 main scenario quests. Also, in order to do patch 2.5's main scenario quest, we have to defeat Ifrit, Garuda, and Titan hard mode. Yeah, that's a requirement a lot of you may not remember, but it has been in the game since 2.5 released, and so we had to make a point to do them. Now, Crystal Tower is one that we could have questionably avoided here, but this will be mandatory for story progression in patch 5.3, so we're going to throw those into the mix, and they've already done a ton to make those easier to do nowadays, getting rid of the long wait times for the fates and just having you go to a bunch of locations. It's still a pretty long quest for the initial unlock just because there's so much teleporting, but that's on the list as well. And those three things are really it. So what did we actually get done of the things we just stated? Well, on day 7, I actually still hadn't even finished A Realm Reborn yet. So I had to do Castrum Meridianum and Praetorium, which we did get done on day 7. After that, we got Ifrit hard mode done, and we even got all of the Crystal Tower done. And remember, we are not skipping cutscenes. So yes, we watched all the cutscenes for the Crystal Tower series. We even got a little bit of patch 2.1 story stuff done in between waiting for the Crystal Dungeon queues, because I'm still doing these solo queue as a DPS in the middle of the day. As for day 8, earlier today as when I'm recording this, we got Garuda and Titan hard mode done first, and then went into patch 2.1 and 2.2. Now, there are trials in those patches. We had Good King Mogomog the 12th for patch 2.1, or Thorn March hard mode, and then we had the War Leader hard mode for patch 2.2, aka Leviathan. We even got halfway through patch 2.3, all the way up to defeating Ramuh on hard mode. So we got first 3 trials out of the way. We got 3 more left in 2.4, 2.5, and 2.55. Now, we also did something a little bit extra in day 8, and we even did this a little bit extra in day 7. I spent a bit of time working on Grand Company stuff. So the Grand Company is not something that has been mandatory throughout this, outside of unlocking the Chocobo for our mount at level 20. But I've decided to start working a little bit towards it in my queue times, and I'll probably even tack on a little bit of time at the end to actually see how long it takes to get, I think it's second lieutenant is the final rank you can get with the Grand Company ranks before you actually get into squadrons. So we're going to have a little commentary on that. We're also going to be doing a commentary on things they definitely need to improve in their patch 5.3 revisions, and Grand Company stuff's going to be big on that list. Now, throughout this playtime, I noticed a couple of things, in that patches are kind of split into 2 halves. Now, the first of those halves is what I call Foundation. Now, these are parts of these story patches that introduce new characters, set up future plot threads, But while they have important elements to them, it's often where the majority of the downright menial tasks draw out the length of the main scenario. Now, I was still surprised that with those menial tasks, I got through the average patch time in about 3 to 3.5 hours. So, not as bad as I remember, but again, there's certain other elements that play into that. For one, having the increased mount speed. Now we're freely teleporting everywhere because we have the majority of the Aetherites attuned to. So those made it faster. So back in the day, these definitely would have been a great deal slower. But Foundation is where I expect the majority of the patch pruning to happen in 5.3 because there's just so much there that doesn't need to happen, or just kind of happens like, well, while you're waiting to do this, go clear out 6 cobra nests. And I'm like, what? Just while I'm waiting, just casually? Yeah, they do that a lot. And to think they've actually trimmed down some of 2.1 already in the past from having to do guild hests before and things like that. So the fact that it's better now is one thing, but it's probably going to have to be a lot better in 5.3. Fortunately, the other half of the patches is what I call the core theme, often what they would advertise kind of as their main reason for releasing the patch, whether it be a Realm Awoken or through the Maelstrom. And this is usually a primal or a major plot thread being established. And these are probably going to stay largely intact. There's still a little bit of pruning that can probably be done in the core theme section, maybe a couple of extra enemy packs that you fight unnecessarily. But this actually still felt okay. The story progresses well, you meet new characters, there's more voice acting in the core theme sections, and it generally felt, okay to play even now. I will say that we do have one sort of change in this formula where I say it's kind of split in half. In patch 2.5, there are kind of 2 core themes that are set into motion instead of 1 foundation and 1 core theme. So I'm curious to see how that patch feels pacing wise now, because it is a lot different from the future patches that were done, the 0.5 and 0.55 patches, and from all 4 of the previous post A Realm Reborn patches as well. Now, as soon as I got through Casham and Praetorium on day 7, I had to immediately think about gearing my character at level 50. So fortunately, I've been doing this for a long time, but a new player is certainly going to be confused because you have all these blue exclamation marks, you have all these dungeons to unlock, there's nothing formally really introducing you to the quote endgame gearing that exists. And while 50 is not endgame, 50, 60, and 70 all have similar gearing processes, so getting used to it at 50 can save you a lot of hardship down the way. So I want to take a section here and kind of do an advice section on gearing at 50 and make sure you understand that while there's different locations and different names for things, that this is generally something that you can expect to do at 60 and 70, and honestly even 80 as well. So the very first thing you should do at level 50 is your level 50 job quest. Not only will this unlock your final skill for your A Realm Reborn section of your job, but it will also give you a full item level 90 left side, and that even includes a belt. So this is a massive HP buff, damage buff. It's just a great set of gear to get as soon as you hit 50. It'll just make the rest of the stuff that you have on kind of feel way more undesirable. Now, another thing that I was fortunately exposed to is tomestones of Poetics and how much you actually get when you first get to level 50. So tomestones are an endgame currency, but they're used for all sorts of levels. And tomestones of Poetics pretty much cover all the items you can purchase at 50, 60, and 70. So you can use these to get, a really strong set of armor at those respective levels. Here at level 50, though, we just have to be concerned about ourselves here. We're not thinking about the future quite yet. And fortunately, the final 2 main scenario dungeons, Castrum Meridianum and the Praetorium, give a total of 600 tomestones of Poetics, which is the perfect amount. So I decided that I was going to get the strongest weapon available without doing any level 50 endgame content. So this is something a solo player can access immediately, and it'll give you a huge boost in power. It's not your only option, but it's the option I went for. First, you'll need to go to Mordona. Now, there's going to be a handful of NPCs, but one of them is going to be a tombstone vendor. From that tombstone vendor, you can purchase 10 Rowena's tokens of Poetics. Now, be careful here. There's 2 different types of tokens. There's ones for soldiery, and there's ones for Poetics. You want to buy the one that specifically says Poetics, despite the fact that they both cost Poetics. This is very, very important, because the soldiery weapon is way worse for you than the Poetics weapon. Poetics tokens. Now, with you buying 10 of those are 40 apiece, so that's 400 of your 600 tomestones. That's a lot, but honestly, that's the perfect amount. Now, you can also buy 1 encrypted tomestone from this same vendor on the same screen. Now you can take those 10 tokens that you just purchased, as well as the encrypted tombstone, and talk to the NPC to your left and buy an Ironworks weapon, and that will be item level 120. Now from that same NPC you bought all the other stuff from, you can also buy a Carbontwine. Now this part's optional, so this part you may actually want to save 100 Poetics. I look back and I'm still not really sure what route I would have taken. Now if you bring the Ironworks weapon that you purchased, as well as a Carbontwine, to the NPC Drake in the North Shroud up in Hurstmill, he will upgrade your Ironworks weapon to an augmented weapon, which will make it item level 130. This is only 5 item levels lower than the highest possible weapon you could obtain, which was obtainable from either doing a very long quest chain in the form of the Zodiac weapons, or from doing the final coil of Bahamut, which is something we are completely avoiding in this series. So bam! Item level 130 weapon, great. That's going to be a huge boost to your damage, your HP. It's great. So that's what I did with my 600 tomes, but that Carbontwine is optional, and I'll explain why in a second. Now you already have I-90 left side, I-130 weapon, great. But if you haven't been lucky in dungeons, or if you've been skipping a lot of side quests, especially like I did later on, odds are your accessories suck. I had a level 18 wrist piece on. I had like level 30 and like 40 of certain other ones, but my wrists were level 18. It was terrible. Now, fortunately, the main story is actually really good about giving you new accessories. Patch 2.1 gives item level 70 accessories, patch 2.2 gives item level 90 accessories, and patch 2.3 gives item level 110 accessories. So if you aren't really trying to do anything other than the story for the time being, you've already taken care of everything left side, and the story will take care of, for the most part, everything on the right side. These aren't the strongest items, but that's really good, and there's nothing to complain about if you have that quality of accessory at those levels. Now, I actually tackled the 24-mans almost immediately, and I was item level locked out of World of Darkness. It only requires an average item level of 90, but that level 18 accessory plus my level 30-something earrings and whatnot really didn't help the cause. So you may need an item level bump like I did. So I chose to buy a few Ironworks accessories, which were item level 120. Now, fortunately, the lower level 24-mans have very low minimum item levels of 50 and 70. 50 you'll have guaranteed super quick after you buy that weapon with the full I-90 left side. 70 also fairly easy. I think I was at like item level 67 or 69 or something, like really quickly after obtaining some of the base stuff and the weapon. So that was something that was well within my achievability. But that item level 18 wrist, man, I couldn't get to item level 90 for World of Darkness. So what did I do? Well, you get 150 tomestones from your first completion of each of these 24-mans. You get 50 as a first-time bonus and 100 as a total. Now, on top of that, Ifrit, Garuda, and Titan hard mode all give in the vicinity of like 70 to 90-ish tomestones, depending on which one it is and the first-time bonus versus the initial cost. So what I was able to do is I'm at 0 tomestones. I did Crystal Tower and I did Circus Tower, the first two 24-mans. That was 300 tomes. I was able to buy a wrist piece with those tomes, which, you know, took my item level 18 up to item level 120. And then I was able to get earrings from the 2.1 main scenario, and I believe I bought a choker with the rest of the tomestones I got from Ifrit hard mode. And that gave me enough to do World of Darkness, which was perfect, because that's another 150 tomes, and then I could buy like an Ironworks ring, and all of a sudden, I'm good, I'm great, I'm grand, I'm golden. But I don't really know if this was the best choice for me. I almost feel like I should have just chosen to do the story stuff first, gotten the free accessories, and used spare tomestones on left side armor. Because of that, I feel like I may have dug myself a little bit of a hole, but it's one that we will be talking about after I complete 2.55, and we look at the other level 50 content that's available, and how you can use that to further prepare yourself for the trudge, we'll go with that, the trudge from 50 to 60. It's also worth mentioning Circus Tower drops item level 100 left side, and World of Darkness drops item level 120 left side. I got a hat from each of them. Great that it couldn't have been, you know, maybe something other than a hat across both of them, but at least I won something. And on top of that, I haven't done any roulettes for tomestones, which honestly I'd recommend new players do. You, of course, want to still be getting as much experience points per day as possible, even if you're using them on lower level jobs, but doing stuff like main scenario roulette or alliance roulette once you have it unlocked just rewards so many tomestones that you won't even have to consider this budgeting that I've done. And honestly, as a new player, you should be trying to unlock things like the level 50 dungeons, things like the alliance roulette, and you'll have a plethora of tomestones, and you probably won't have to do any of the budgeting I just did. Now, any excess accessories that you get can actually be handed into your grand company to help finish rank ups if you've already gotten expert delivery unlocked. This isn't going to be important. Again, we'll talk about this more probably in our post-completion videos that we're going to do, things they need to change in 5.3, which is going to be one of my major video making topics for probably about a week or so. Overall, at just about 52 hours, it's so much better than I remember it. Like, I've spent months complaining about it, and I think because I'm going into it without the end goal of caring about, you know, Heaven's Word or Stormblood, like, I know everything about it. I can kind of extrapolate, go back, appreciate old references with context of new things. I'm still not really getting 100% the new player experience, but I feel better than I thought I was gonna feel. All of 2.0 itself was fairly relaxing, and 2.1 to 2.55 is not taking as long as I thought it was going to take because of other changes that they've made, the gear that's available, the tomestones that are available, things like having roulettes, which we didn't have in 2.0, believe it or not, have all made the experience far, far more tolerable than I expected, especially with them trimming down 2.1 as well as the Crystal Tower unlock. So the fact that they've done some trimming in the past is definitely coming through as appreciated right now, more so than I expected, and it's only going to make our 5.3 comparisons all that much more under scrutiny because there's a lot of things they really still need to give some careful attention to, and I'm afraid they might miss the mark on a couple of things. But anyway, that's going to be a wrap for our summary on days 7 and 8. Like I said, they were very eventful, but fortunately, we don't have to go into any super excruciating detail on certain bits. We'll save that for, again, some of the post-completion discussion that we're going to be having. But thank you for watching this video and this video series. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned because we'll definitely have a bunch of new player videos coming out in wake of seeing all the things that are actually done here. There's also the possibility for an extension of the series if, you know, enough interest is there for looking at the total time it would take to catch up to Shadowbringers right now without just having, you know, anecdotal evidence or whatnot, actually documenting what it was like and things they could even improve in the other expansions that no doubt they will be looking to do. But thanks for watching. Be sure to, again, like, favorite, subscribe, and share. Check out the rest of the playlist, and I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, take care.